All right, MMA Junkie Nation, we got another superstar for you. Gorgeous George and Goes delivering Charles Rosa, who is going to be fighting Darrick Minner on February 20th here in Las Vegas. Welcome back, Charles. How you doing?
Great, man. Great. Just finished chefing up some food, on that fighter Chef Rosa diet. So just, trained earlier, working hard for this fight February 20th.
Mm-hmm. Who are the lucky roommates that you have now that you get to cook for?
I got my roommate Jose. He's a purple belt in Jiu-jitsu, so he's an awesome guy to live with. We got Madison downstairs, and then I got my buddy Gaston. Actually, you can say what's up, Gaston.
What's up, Gaston?
Chile. Yeah. We flew him in as a specialty training partner from Chile. He's living in my house, so he's all the way, from South America here training with me and helped me get ready for this fight. So he's my main training partner. So I got them two living with me now. So life is good,
If you're curious about the last World Cup and how Chile did, don't ask Gaston because Chile didn't make it.
Hey, football, Chile, bueno, no bueno. He said good. I don't know.
ask him how they did in the World Cup last time.
World Cup, bueno o no bueno? World Cup Mundial. He said this mess. It's funny because I don't speak any Spanish. Well, I've been learning now. I speak no Spanish, and he speaks no English. So we have a pretty unique relationship because we hang out all day and train all day together. So it's pretty cool living with them. But fighting is a universal language, so we figure out what each other are doing pretty quick.
I'm just busting his balls because our mom is Peruvian and their rival is Chile, and Peru hadn't made it in a long time, but they made it last time and Chile didn't. So I was just busting his chops. No worries though. Now I'm going to bust your chops because right around this time every year we go, hey, the Patriots going to win it. They're not there. But I wanted to ask you, are you on team Tom Brady or are you like, nope, I'm Patriots guy, Tom left, and I'm not cheering for them?
No, I'm team Tom Brady. There's no doubt. I mean, he's my favorite, role model sports icon there's ever been. Ever since I was a little kid, he's a great role model. He's a special guy. So, you know what I'm saying? And also Gronk is another one that I'm always pulling for.
So for one day, you'll be Tampa strong.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm Boston strong always, but it's just hard that my two favorite athletes go to the same team in the same state I'm living. Yeah, and that's what it is, man. Just, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I definitely love watching them. I've met Gronk a few times. He's cool. I've met him in Boston. Yeah. I'm cool with him. I hang out with his brother. I was actually with his brother, Gordy Gronk, last week down at the Hard Rock Hotel. We stayed in a nice cabana. He was promoting his new drink called View. So like that. So, I mean, he comes from the Gronk family is an amazing family. And then obviously, Tom Brady is the GOAT, man. He's a legend of all sports and he's a great role model, I think, for everybody. So, I was fortunate enough to have him be the quarterback for the Patriots my whole life, pretty much growing up as a kid and just watching him win Super Bowl after Super Bowl. So,
yeah. Wes Welker, he tweeted out to Calvin Cater.
I think it was Julian Edelman, too.
Julian Edelman, I'm sorry. It was Julian Edelman, you're right. But I was wondering, so I know he's a fan, and I've seen Brady at UFCs. How about Gronk? Is he a fan of MMA?
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. He actually, when I was with him, when I met him, he was like, call Dana White. He's like, tell him we want to do a tag team match in the UFC. I was just laughing about it. It was pretty funny. But, yeah, I mean, he's a huge fight fan, and his family is too, and it was pretty cool. My dad got to meet his family and his dad, and we talked about it. Was just pretty cool because he has a lot of brothers that play football, and I come from a fight family. My little brother Lucas Rosa is training to be a fighter now. He actually has his first amateur fight coming up, so he's training under Charles McCarthy with us over at the gym, and we're getting his skills up, and he's learning fast. So it's just pretty cool to see to see how that works out.
Let me ask you about another passion of yours, and that's obviously you're a chef, a 5-star chef. And when you do hang out with some of these, athletes, celebs, or even some of your MMA friends, can you ever just be invited to someone's house or a barbecue and you're left alone, or does it somehow work its way around to, hey, Charles, show us what you got?
God, the best thing is that always somehow comes up. I mean, the one thing I want to be clear of, more than cooking food and preparing it, my favorite thing about food is eating it. So I always try to make it clear to my friends that, I always try to get, cook this, cook that. And I open their cabinet. Hey, Charles, you're a chef. What can you make me? I open I opened their cabinet and they got boxes of macaroni and cheese and tuna fish cans, and I'm like, what do you want me to make? You don't even have any. How am I gonna cook something with nothing? Like, I need the ingredients. You gotta go shopping. It's a whole preparation list you gotta do. You can't just. It's difficult to make magic without the ingredients. But nah, man, I'm always down. And sometimes even right now, my roommates are cooking, and like I'll be watching them cook, and I'm like, no, don't do that. And I'll just start cooking for them because like I can't watch it sometimes if it's no good. But I like to teach people, and that's one of my other passions is helping people and helping them learn how to do things, whether it's jiu-jitsu, cooking, or whatever it is.
Yeah, Stan's never gonna want to go back to Chile, man. You got him
Yeah,
spoiled there. He gets world class training and then world class food. All right, let's switch over to MMA. I want to go back 2 fights. The Bryce Mitchell fight didn't go your way, and that was a tough fight to come back from. But you did against Kevin Aguilar, who's tough. I've watched him for many years. That guy can hit hard. That was a solid comeback fight. Tell me about that. Tell me about, was there anything that happened between preparations for Mitchell to preparations from Aguilar? Like, was there any? I mean, not a radical change in your coaching or training or anything, but was there some key ingredient that got you, that you had to tweak after that one fight before the Aguilar fight?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was a combination of a couple things. Like, I don't like to make any excuses, but I think a lot of it comes down to strategy too. Like strategy is super important in fighting. You having high fight IQ, working and not being stubborn. Like, and then on top of it, when I fought Bryce Mitchell was like in a empty arena in Jacksonville, like which normally would be full of 20,000 people screaming either for you or against you. Either way, you can feel the momentum in the air. But like when I walked out, there was just nobody. It just felt very like subtle. And then like every time I got out of his twister or submissions, like there was no. It didn't feel any reward from it. You get out and like you just hear his coaches telling him what to do next. I could literally hear him coaching against me. So it is very difficult. Like I feel like I'm an adrenaline fighter. Like I go off the momentum and stuff like that. Like I scramble a lot when I fight and stuff like that, which is something that I've been trying to fix. Is taking the highest percentage chances in each position and stuff like that. So really, is strategy going into it, and then obviously that one fight with Bryce was like I go from being in Boston, having 20,000 people chanting Rosa, like getting that first round armbar finish, like the adrenaline high of my life, to like going in there and just kind of fell flat. Like I said, I don't like to make excuses for the Bryce fight, but I've had 40 fights in my career, amateur, pro, all together, and I've never felt like I wasn't in a fight. And that was like the one time I didn't feel any adrenaline, like I didn't have any urgency. I just figured I was going to submit him, like even to the last second. I was like, oh, I'm going to catch him eventually. I'm going to catch him. Like, keep playing your game, keep playing your game. So it was a combination of like not having the adrenaline from the crowd, and then a combination of just having bad strategy and just maybe being a little bit too stubborn, just thinking that I was going to catch him in a submission that never came, and then the fight was over and I lost, and I was like, man, that was a nightmare. I'm never going to do that again. Like, so when I went and fought Kevin Aguilar, I said, listen, I'm getting back to my ways. I have over 50% fight of the night. Every time I fight, every other fight you watch is going to be a fight of the night. You're going to see a war with me. So, I don't want to get into those wars necessarily if I don't have to, but you better believe that now when I'm coming to fight, and like I'm never going to let that happen again. And that's what fighting is. You live and you learn.
We're going to get to your upcoming fight, but it just so happens George brought up a topic that I wanted to ask you about, and it's only because it reminded me of a lot of something that we saw this weekend. So I've heard you talk about that fight before and how it just kind of didn't feel like it was you that night. And I heard Dustin Poirier, when he lost to Conor McGregor the first time, he told us something very, very similar, and it bothered him for some time, but he always felt like he knew he would get that fight back at some point. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, that Bryce Mitchell fight, the Bryce Mitchell fight, do you feel like eventually you're going to get that opportunity to fight him again? Does it feel like it's just inevitable?
No, yeah, 100%. I know it's going to happen again. It's inevitable. He's a young fighter, and he's ahead of me in the rankings right now. So eventually we're going to have to cross paths again, and that time's going to come, and I'll be ready for it. So I truly believe things happen for a reason. You don't always understand how come they happen when they happen at the time they did. But I'm a firm believer in that, and I just know that I'm going to be ready for it when the time comes, and I was curious to hear what you had to say. What Dustin said the first time he fought Conor. He said something similar to what I said.
Yeah, he just said it just didn't feel like he was really angry at himself because he said it didn't feel like it was him that night. Just something was
Yeah.
off, and he felt like if they could just run it back the next day,
Yeah.
it would be a completely different fight. And it just reminded me a lot of what you had said about the Bryce Mitchell fight. So that happening this weekend and all that, there were so many similarities.
Yeah, and then you see Dustin, like he went out and he didn't hold. I mean, he went for it. He did what he did. He had a perfect game plan. Like when it comes back to two strategy, sometimes like you have this one strategy in your head. Like Dustin, probably the first time he fought Connor, was like, I'm just gonna go in there and I'm gonna walk through his punches and I'm gonna crack him like Dustin always does. And he's a warrior and he's been able to do it against everybody. But the second time, he's probably a little more calculated. Like, hey, listen, I know he has this. Let's do a different strategy. Let's work in that leg, take away his power, and man, it was a perfect strategy, and he did a perfect fight, and he's I think he should be the world champion, but we'll see what happens next.
Yeah. So this fight that you have ahead of you, when you look at it on paper, it's so interesting, right? Your guys' skill sets matching up against each other, and it's so funny when you look at his record.
Yeah.
He only wins by submission practically.
Yeah.
When you look, I think he only has one other win that was by decision. But let's talk a little bit about his striking. If you look at the stand-up of his game, is there anything in there that impresses you? Is there anything that stands out? Could he have worked on anything that would is it just too short of a time from his last couple fights that you've looked at where you could
No, I
say
think
something could have happened?
yeah, I mean, everybody's always getting better and evolving, but I know as anybody knows that is in the sport, that you don't go from a white belt to a black belt in 6 months. There's a reason that there's the rankings. You go from white belt to blue belt to purple belt to brown belt to black belt, and it takes an average of 8 to 10 years for a professional fighter to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and it's very similar to striking. Like you can't just take someone that doesn't have that high level striking. You can make him better, of course. You could probably get him to blue belt level in 6 months or something like that if they really really work hard on it. But like everybody knows that does this, there's levels to this, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time. So I think that's what you've seen with my career is I was fighting top 10 ranked Dennis Seaver on 5 days notice. 5 or 6 years ago when I didn't start training until I was 20, 23 years old. So I got a late start. With all this stuff. So even though I had the toughness, I had the durability, I had everything that it takes to be a fighter, I just didn't quite have the skills to be fighting at that level. Even though I had a great fight against him, it was amazing. Like the difference of the level, my skills over those years that I've evolved as a fighter is tremendous. And it also takes time. It takes patience. So, as far as he goes, I'm sure he's better than he was last fight, but, I'm also better than I was in my last fight. So it's going to be, you're going to see the best Charles Rosa coming in there February 20th. And I'm ready to fight.
I know you're a smart guy. You have your game plan going in, but you're also a dude. And I know you love other sports. At some point, do you ever think to yourself, I got a great ground game too, and it would just make me feel so good to submit him at his game? Do you ever think those things as the fight's going on?
Yeah, he's been submitted 11 times. I don't think I've ever fought somebody that's been submitted that many times, and that's what I am. I'm a submission specialist. And also just to be clear too is you talk about all the submission wins he has. I've never been submitted. I've never been submitted as a professional fighter ever. So I don't know if they think he's going to go in there and submit me or what it is like that. That's going to be have to be the first one to do it out of all the guys that I fought. I fought in all the world class top 10 guys, some of the top guys on the planet, and no one's been able to. I've fought many black belts. I train with them every single day. So it's if he wants to come in there and he wants to get in a grappling exchange, he's gonna be on the losing end of that. That's a fact.
It took almost, like you said, 40 fights between amateur and pro, and almost 10 years for your first fight in Las Vegas. You're undefeated in Las Vegas, but that was kind of bizarre to me. Somebody that's fought so long and it took that long to have the first fight in the fight capital.
Yeah, they love sending me to Mexico to fight Yair Rodriguez, and I feel like I got robbed in that split decision one. I still wish I can get back one day, but I fought Dennis Seaver in Europe, and he's a European fighter, and I get to go fight Shane Burgos, who's from New York. So those are the tough fights, but those are the fights that that make you how you are. All those fights I got fight of the night from it. And the crowd of it initially was booing me when I walked out, but they were cheering my name at the end. So I had to do it the hard way. I earned my respect the hard way, but it makes it that much better. Is when you start off doing it the hard way, when the better way finally comes, when you get to do it in either neutral ground or your hometown in Boston, it makes it that much better. And that's I think just I paid my dues, so I mean, I'm ready to fight this one.
Yeah, and the next one's in Vegas. What we need to get you is on a Vegas card with the fans, so you can have that.
Yeah, right. I gotta get the full experience, right?
Exactly. All right. So you mentioned Poirier, and I wanted to ask you about Poirier. You were tweeting about Poirier, and what an inspiration, that was.
Yep.
Talk about the carryover from a big high-profile fight that involves your gym. What's that like for everybody, like on a following Monday or even the residual, the next couple of weeks, how inspiring is it?
Dude, especially for Dustin overall, like he's been super inspirational. I think he came into the gym like I think it was 7, 8 years ago maybe. So I've been training with him for years, and it's just really cool to see like him evolve, and his wrestling's evolved. He's training with Mike Brown. He just gets better and better, but he's always been that same super tough kid. Like I've never, anytime I've ever done rounds with him, the kid is nails. Like he's always trying to win every time. He's always pushing hard. He's never quitting. If you hit him with something, he wants it back, and that's what a fighter is at the end of the day, And all this other stuff is just the coaches around, having the right coaches to build it up. But when you're saying as far as like the fight week and the build up, I mean, for him, he gets, this is a huge fight. Obviously, he was fighting Conor McGregor, so he gets everything that he needs. He gets the coaches, he gets the cage, he gets everything the way it should be. I mean, he gets everything set up. But after he get that big win, I mean, I don't know. I guess technically he didn't win the world title. I mean, technically, but I mean, he should be coming in with the belt. He should be walking back into the gym with the belt. He deserves it. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I think so. But in the past, when Amanda Nunes or whoever, Kobe or whoever has won the belt is, walked in with it on the following Monday for wrestling practice, everybody, it's like the only time it ever happens, like that the gym stops, they turn, they give them a standing applause, everybody hugs, takes pictures, and it's a special moment as it should be, but it usually only comes off of a world title win. So it'll be interesting to what happens. But I mean, he's, he deserved the win, and I don't know if they're going to crown him the champion, but hopefully they do.
Well, two things. I do agree that Poirier should be champ right now because I thought Khabib was very clear that he retired, and then when he did subsequent interviews, he kept mentioning he was retired. Then Dana White said he was going to talk to him, and even then he didn't come back with anything positive. He just said something about he's going to watch the fights, and that almost seems like it's not true. Khabib's still reiterating that he's just done, So, I mean, the UFC loves the market title fights, and they had their golden goose, McGregor. You would have thought that this would have been a perfect chance. Both guys coming off wins. McGregor had beaten Cerrone. Poirier had beaten Hooker. This was a perfect chance to crown a new champion. If Khabib wants to come back, hey, he'll be first in line. But, yeah, man, Poirier should be wearing a belt. I agree. And then the other point is, even when Colby came in, everybody gave him a round of applause. I always thought he was a little bit more polarizing in the gym, but everyone put that to the side and gave him a round of applause, huh?
Dude, I don't think there's any mixed martial artist, no matter what, that doesn't respect a guy that wins a world title. Every fighter that is in there knows how hard it is to get to that point, how much work it takes, how many injuries you got to fight through, how many tough fights, how much stress you have to go through, and all the things that come with fighting. It's not an easy sport, I mean, it's, I seen a guy the other day get injured in the gym, and it's like you see someone get hurt, and then you see the last ones that are standing are the ones that have gotten hurt and then have came back and fought through that stuff. And there's so many things that it takes to be a UFC fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's anybody. There's a lot of guys that have the talent to be UFC fighters. There's no doubt about that. There's kids in the gym that are doing double backflips on the mat. They're like, bench pressing 500 pounds. I'm like, man, guys are freak athletes. But then, it takes those intangibles. Are you mentally strong enough to fight through these injuries? You're mentally strong enough to push through all this stuff. So my point of the answer is yeah, everybody respects that. If you win the world title, you earned it through blood, sweat, and tears.
I think it's awesome, and I think he deserved that round of applause. Honestly, I've never been one of the guys that's been on the side of like, I can't believe what he said. We got to know him because we went on a military trip with him a long time ago, so I got to meet the real
nicest kid ever, right?
Huh?
He's like the nicest kid ever. It's crazy, right?
He is, and actually, I'll tell you this, Charles. He was actually one of the better ones in terms of how he connected with the military as well. So I've always gone to bat and said, man, this is just him, I think, doing something to get more of a spotlight on himself. And yes, he did rub some people the wrong way. He rubbed the whole country the wrong way when he went after Brazil. Yeah. And I know he's no longer part of the gym. But again, when you told me that story, I was like, oh, wow, that's great that any feelings were put aside, and he got his round of applause just like anybody else. And I'm wondering, did Masvidal also get the same when he won the BMF? I mean, that's still a belt, right?
For sure, man. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think I remember when he walked into the belt, they put a huge portrait up in the gym of him, and yeah, man, everybody respects his hard work, and everyone loves Georgie anyways. He's more of a lovable guy for sure, and like he's paid his dues, man. And you as a fighter, all the fighters respect that. You know what I'm saying? Whether you like the guy or not, everyone respects that. If he paid his dues, and that's like a trophy, literally an actual trophy of his hard work. So it's pretty cool that he got it. He earned it.
One more. Did King Mo get one when he won that Ryzen tournament like 3 years ago? Did he get a round of applause too when he came back? That was amazing.
I don't remember. I mean, sometimes if it's I'm like fighting or if I'm not there and they come back, I don't always see him. So that's why I don't remember.
I got you.
I'm not sure of it, but yeah, I mean,
he had fought.
Sure, if he wins it, yeah, they come. Yeah, because actually, I think they did it for my buddy. Who won the Titan FC title. Juan Puerta. Juan Puerta won the Titan FC title, and that's big on Fight Pass. Juan Puerta, multiple-time world champion for Titan FC, and he won it. And they came in, and everyone gave him his respect, and it was special. So anytime that happens, we give him their respect.
Yeah, no, he had beaten the guy that's doing really well in the UFC, Jiri Prokacha. They're 1-1. He had beaten him. But the big thing was he had fought just a few days before, or not a few days before, a few weeks before, like in Ireland or something like that. And then it was for Bellator, and then they allowed him to come to Japan, and like just that travel, that was nuts. And he was doing it, I believe, in a heavyweight division. So I thought that was like pretty remarkable. It was a few years ago. It was before he retired, and all that stuff. But that's a great tradition that your gym has, honestly. I'll have to ask George one day if he got a round of applause when he beat up Ray at the Kimbo fights. But that's old school.
Heck, man. Always, man. That's the thing I love most about George. I mean, I came through around that time when all that stuff happened. I was really close with Kimbo for years. I was in his corner his last 3 fights, and he's one of the main guys that inspired me to be a great fighter is Kimbo Slice. So, rest in peace, Kimbo Slice. Respect to him. But, yeah, Georgie, I actually hang – it's funny because I've sat with Ray at the fights a couple times who fought Georgie, and he's just like – yeah, he's still around, man. He's still kicking around.
What's he say? Is he got positive vibes towards Georgie and all that?
What'd you say?
I said, what does Ray think of what Jorge has made himself as a professional?
Yeah, he loves it, man. Dude, he's a super positive guy. He loves it.
Nice.
Like, he's, what I'm saying? So I'm sure he loves that. Like, loves seeing that. So it is what it is,
Yeah, because he was Kimbo's protege, and George got in the way of that. They fought twice. Okay, so then the last thing was we talked a lot about your jiu-jitsu, and you love jiu-jitsu, and you talk about wanting to test yourself against the best. But a lot of people don't know this, but you come from a boxing family. Your grandpa, a professional boxer, and your dad boxed. And I want to ask you, which one truly is your love of the two? I mean, I know you practice all the martial arts, but do you have a love, like a number one out of those two?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, well, it's crazy because it changes. Like, I get to go to Thailand. I get to do this. I love being in the boxing gyms with the smell of the boxing gyms. You're in there, you're working hard, hitting the bag, like good sweat. But I mean, I really love jiu-jitsu because I really love the discipline of it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my real passion. I think is jiu-jitsu. I love teaching it. Teaching people that probably couldn't beat like a regular person, and being able to take someone who's maybe not so athletic or have all these gifts, and to be able to teach them some skills that actually work and they can utilize for self-defense and real life stuff. And also is good. Teaching kids or whatever. I really love jiu-jitsu. So I'd say that's my first passion, but when it comes down to the grit of it and the fight part of it and the hurt business part of it, maybe the stuff in the fight business that isn't the most glorious, is that's where boxing comes in. It's they call it the hurt business for a reason because it's just something about it. It takes a special type of person to be a boxer. But my favorite thing is jiu-jitsu. I love training jiu-jitsu. I love teaching it. I love learning it.
What do you got between Jake Paul and Ben Askren? Did you hear they signed to fight or to box?
It's crazy because everyone dogs Jake Paul so bad, but they don't understand that, like, this guy, just because he was a YouTuber guy, how do you think everybody started fighting? Everyone that started fighting just started off as like a regular guy or whatever. Maybe had a couple street fights. I'm sure Jake Paul's had a couple street fights. And what they did is they learned these skills. And how do you learn the skills? By putting in the work and time. So I'm sure Jake Paul every day is training boxing. He has real legit boxing coaches who are teaching him legit boxing skills. And I don't know how hard he works, but I'm sure, he's, what else is he doing? He's probably in the gym every day. I mean, if he is in the gym training every day, then he's getting better. So I think it's very interesting if that happens, and I'd be interested to see what happens with the fight. I think Jake Paul is a lot better than people think he is, but then a lot of people think that he's a lot better than he actually is. So it's like a tough line for me to understand. 'Cause some people think like he would actually beat some of these guys, and then some people don't realize that he actually would beat them. Like, they're like, oh, I would kick Jake Paul's ass. I'm like, yeah, he probably wouldn't. He'd probably knock you out, but like, he's not going to beat I don't think. I mean, besides possibly Ben Askren, they found the worst possible striker to put him in there with. Like, I don't think he could beat anybody else besides possibly Ben Askren.
Yeah, speaking of street fights, I got to go back to that old show when you were in our studio and you told us something about you riding a bike and they stole it. And
Dude,
that was a classic, man. I love that one. I got to find it and then isolate it and tweet it because I laughed my ass off that time.
I love that, man. Yeah, it's a good old. That's the only fight I've still ever gotten in since I learned how to fight is when someone stole my bike and I saw him riding it down the street and I had to fight for it back. That's a good one.
I loved it. All right, Charles, we took up enough of your time. Thanks as always for the catch up. Good luck against Darrick Minner. I mean, we'll see you in a few weeks here in Vegas, and enjoy your day, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the time.